Hello, and welcome once again to that 10 to 15 minutes of whatever this is on Tinternet. I've called it Redactive Nuisance. Hey, I'm Dr. J, use they as a pronoun. I'm a queer nuisance, and I called this Redacted Nuisance because if I call it Queer Nuisance, you simply wouldn't be able to find it on any of the platforms because queer is considered sometimes a pejorative term by search engines, and if you're somewhere where you can't freely access LGBTQ information, LGBT information, then calling it queer nuisance would lock it out from people. So I've called it redacted nuisance, not because I'm ashamed or anything about being the nuisance and being a queer nuisance. It's me parkouring my way around the restrictions of the world. So I last time I was super vulnerable and I talked about how difficult it is to communicate. You might notice my communication is a lot better than it was then. Still not 100%, but we're getting there. Um, Telling me to calm down is not the way to do it because there's so much going on, which I'll address in this one, but also possibly the next one, and the next one, and the next one. You're going to get some sense of this. So, in my speedrunning life at the moment, I was transphobically bullied at the swimming pool a couple of weeks ago, and this was hugely upsetting. And I'm going to explain the situation, talk about what happened, and talk about what's happened since. Hopefully, that will take about 10 minutes. So, I went to a HIIT class, which I enjoy, and because the boxing class wasn't on afterwards, which is the one that I normally go to, I decided to go down to the women's swimming group, which I've been in before. It's a session that is for women or people who feel comfortable identifying within that very loose framework. There's a lot of people from cultures where mixed swimming is not permitted, so I'm quite sensitive to that. And I've talked to some of the women there. They see me as a gender that I'm not, but I'm kind of comfortable with that. We navigate that space. Some of them are at aquarobics with me, so they've got a sense of what I look like. And I went down there, was sat in the steam room for about 10 minutes in between sessions with some of the people from my HIIT class, somebody else who'd been in another class with me, other people who'd been in the aquarobics with me. We all kind of talked about it. We talked about something that had happened in the class the week before. It was a weird situation, and we were kind of laughing about it, not realizing, because my glasses were fogged up, there was somebody in there. The person who'd said the crazy thing was in there, so kind of navigated that slightly awkward situation with great grace, and humour, as one does. When you're complaining about what somebody said and then realizing you're doing it in front of that person because you're blind. So I leave there. I decide to go for a swim, which is all good. I need to wait a couple of minutes in between the sessions. I'm standing by the side of the pool, faffing with my glasses on, faffing with my watch, trying to set it up to record my swim. And this person comes up to me and says, this is a women's session. And I said, oh yeah, I'm totally aware of that. Just being, and at that point, my heart rate must have hit like well over 150. And I had just set up a swimming session, so I knew what my heart rate hit, and it hit just over 150. So it hit very, very high very quickly, because I knew that something bad was about to happen with this question. It's called being a trans person in the world. You know by the tone of the voice, you know by what's being said. And this woman started yelling at me, started saying that I had a penis, started saying that I was a man, calling me it, commenting on my musculature, saying that the muscles that I have or the way that my body looks, I definitely could not be considered any part of the session. I clearly called out to the staff members that I was being transphobically bullied. They started treating it as a fight between between two people. I understand that now. At the time, I didn't. I said to them, I held my hand up in a calming gesture and said, I'm going off to get a manager. So in my togs, soaking wet because I'd been in the steam room and I'd been for a quick shower before I was hopping in the pool because I'm a clean person. I stormed off, or I walked off, out through the changing rooms into the dry area, into the very public area, just in my togs to go and get a manager. Because the staff didn't radio for a manager. Went and got a manager who then I forgot that I can walk through one changing room and that he couldn't, which led to a little bit of hilarity moment, because I was like, why can't you just walk with me? And it's like, because you're about to walk through the women's changing room and I'm not a woman. And I'm like, oh, I see your point. So I walked through the changing room that I use, met him on the other side. He went out to assess the situation and to do something else that he was already going to do, not recognizing that transphobically bullying and is a hate crime rather than just two people having a fight. So we get there, she's gone off to do something. Everyone's like, look, try and have a swim, we'll get the staff to look out for you, it's all okay. Now, I knew that they hadn't removed her from this situation. I couldn't figure out why this wasn't happening because I kept using the word I'm being transphobically bullied by this woman. I'm shaking like a leaf and my heart rate's all over the show, and I try and swim. I do about 500 meters, which is not much for me. About 20 minutes, and I'm crying. I'm crying while I'm swimming. Which is not a good state to be in if you ever want to know. I then come out of the pool and walk into the changing room, and the instant I walk into the changing room, I realise that she's there, and she starts up again. Exactly the same things as she said before, in front of other patrons, asking them to join in on the bullying of me, asking them to comment upon my body, commenting on my genitalia, commenting on my musculature, commenting on everything. So I hold my hand up very gently again and say, I'm going to get a manager. Again, I walk just in my togs, completely wet, through the out into the main dry area, into the public area, get a manager. He sends somebody in. She decides that the best way to resolve the situation is to remove me to a separate changing room. So we get my gear and we remove me to a separate changing room. Meanwhile, the woman is just going on and on and on. I scream back at one point and I'm told to stay calm. Those who are listening will recognise not exactly the way to handle the person being bullied. I end up in a room. I don't, now, very quick things, and I think I might have mentioned this before, I don't use cubicles, simply because I've been trapped in cubicles as a child while people attempted to see my naked body and people screamed and yelled at me. It's happened more than once. It's happened as an adult. I've been slightly trapped in a cubicle with people yelling things about me, and I've had to wait till they've gone. I tend to, if I'm getting changed in a public space, I tend to very discreetly, very quickly get myself changed in the corner of a public space. It's just one of the easiest ways of doing it for me, and one of the safest ways of doing it for me up till now. So I get changed, I come out, I write them a 4-page statement pointing out that this is transphobic bullying, that I'm covered by having the New Zealand version of a GRC. Therefore, this is literally a hate crime that has just been perpetrated. I take photos of everything that I've written, and on the walk home, I am sobbing. I have never, my dad died 24 years ago, and I have never wanted my dad as much as I did in that moment and as I do right now. I have never wanted him around so much. When I was bullied like that at school, when people picked on me at school, he was instantly leaping in to be the person to run up school, to be my defender, to take everyone on the world, to basically say to everyone in the world, how dare you do this to my child? How dare you do this to my child? Um, sorry, this may take a few, this may be one of those ones that I have to do in two parts. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm going to leave this one here because that's what happened. The TLDR, and I love that I'm doing the TLDR at the end, but the TLDR is I was transphobically bullied twice by the same person in front of witnesses, in front of staff, in a public swimming pool. I was told that I had a penis, that I had been through male puberty, and I refused to confirm or deny anything about my genitalia. I said my genitalia and what I have is not up for discussion. I am in exactly the right place for this swimming session. You know, this is transphobically bullying me. I also recognised that if one of my friends was like, you could have just flashed them, and I was like, that would not have made any difference, because this person would have then used that to go and transphobically abuse other people at the gym and other people who use the swimming area. So even though I was in absolute panic and my body was shaking like a leaf, I knew that I had to respond in a way that worked for everyone and not just for me. I mean, I didn't even think of violence. It's not part of my core response at all. But I did have the little voice in the back of my head that said the line that one of the guys from my boxing class had told me, and I told him this the next week. I said, I kept on hearing you tell me, don't worry about your jab. It's good. It's not strong, but it's good, and it's a great distraction from your right cross, which is deadly. So I kind of just had that in my head, which was actually made me feel like my dad was there, because that's something my dad would have told me. You know, you know how to handle yourself, and you will handle yourself right. So that's the first part of this.